welcome to the City Council meeting of February 8th. And I'll ask, well, first of all, we have a gentleman in the audience, Mr. Jack Wilk. Jack, will you come up to that little microphone, please? Jack is with Boy Scout Troop 575 out of Manaway, Ohio. Jack, can you tell us a little bit about why you're here? And then we're going to have you, I'm sorry, and then we're going to have you start us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
Ma'am, if you'd like to get around the front, please feel free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to participate in this council meeting this evening and assisting me with earning my citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. My goal is to complete all my required merit badges and become an Eagle Scout before I enter high school. May you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's usually my line, but that'll work. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Wilk, would you like to introduce your parents that so nicely brought you out on a nice day like, or a nice evening like tonight?
This is my dad, Richard Wilk, and this is my mom, Wendy Wilk.
Thank you both for bringing them out.
Thank you for permitting him to be here.
All right, anyone who would like to reconsider a prior, oh, I'm sorry, roll call, Ms. Hawks?
Ms. Varner?
Present.
Ms. Grandillo?
Here.
Mr. Hettridge?
Here.
Mr. Horvath?
Here.
Mr. Kovac?
Present.
Mr. Cudley?
Here.
Ms. McDougal? Mr. Vaca?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to reconsider a prior action? Seeing none, we'll move on to consideration of the minutes of January 25th. I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a move and second to approve. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Varner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Abstain.
Mr. Hettridge?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Okay, those meeting minutes are adopted. We have another visitor here, Mr. Bradley Cromes, who is the Portage County Treasurer. Mr. Cromes, please.
All right, thank you all for making some time for me tonight.
If you can introduce yourself also, give your address.
Sure. Brad Cromus, I'm Portage County Treasurer, and I live in Ravenna at 550 East Riddle Avenue. So happy to be here with you all again tonight. When I first was appointed to this office in February of last year, if you'll remember, it was about the same time I came out and said hello and said I was making my way around the county to try to meet everybody and all of the local office holders that I could. I'm doing that again this time, and I'm expanding to reach out to our township trustees also, just because I think keeping those lines of communication is open is important for us as we do our work in the county. So I wanted to bring tonight a little attention to a couple of things I've been working on. One is this brochure. This is our link deposit program. This is something that we launched in July in concert with 3 local community banks and the county commissioners. What this is a home improvement program whereby homeowners, if they qualify on the basis of their home value, can do needed home repairs at 3% below market rates for the first 5 years of a loan term. So the idea here is to give people access to some resources to do repairs they might not otherwise do. From our perspective, that helps to stabilize property values in communities or neighborhoods where that might not be the case. And then over time, if this program continues, that can lift property values. It's something that we modeled off of a program that exists in Medina County. They've had a great deal of success with that over there. So just wanted to offer that. I brought extra brochures if anybody wants to take one on their way out the door. You're more than welcome to do that. And then the other thing that I gave to you, and I thank Donna for printing that off and sharing it with everybody, is a copy of just kind of the timeline of the things that I've been working on since I took office. Just kind of the highlights quickly are we redid our website to add a lot of information about financial literacy topics for students, seniors, members of the military, trying to ratchet down on information that's really useful to folks no matter where they might be in their life. So, we're looking at ourselves more as a clearinghouse of that kind of information. I put the office on Facebook last summer, and near as I can tell, we're the only elected office in the county that has a Facebook page. So we're using that to kind of share more timely information, quizzes, those sort of interactive things to get people talking about financial topics in the county. That has been a fairly successful effort, but we're still looking to expand that, obviously. And then kind of, I guess, the last thing that I would point out is our work to expand access to online bill pay. That's something that I'd mentioned in here. We've had it for a little while, but we're making more noise about it than we had been in the past. We recently partnered with the auditor's office to offer access through the Portage County Property website, which is a separate and apart website with much higher traffic, candidly, than what we get at the county website. So folks can now access their tax bill and pay through that also. That's all with a mind to look toward eventually getting us in a place where, like Geauga County, we can offer e-billing, so you can sign up to get your tax bill via the email, and really kind of bring the fee that we charge for the online bill pay down a little bit, and offer some more expansive service. So those are kind of the things that we're looking at for the year ahead. We're also going to be doing some events to try to share good financial management information with folks through the United Way. We're partnering with them on a couple of things, and I won't belabor the rest of the information there because I know you all can read that on your own time. But again, I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you for letting me come out. If there's time and you're willing to ask, I will answer any questions you have for me. But again, I just wanted to say thanks. So,
Thank you. Any questions for the auditor or treasurer? Ms. Barner?
Thank you, President. Thank you for coming this evening. I think this is a fantastic program to have. Ironically, we had information prior to our council meeting in regards to something a little bit different. I was just wondering how this is advertised for people to obviously use this. I think aesthetics and, as you just explained, for your homeowner, for an improvement for not only your neighborhood but the entire community. To beautify it is fantastic, and obviously with a low interest loan would hopefully entice people to do something like this. So I guess really my question to you is how you are advertising this other than your Facebook page, but to really bring this out, especially selfishly in Aurora. I know there's many other cities in Portage County.
right.
Thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. So, the initial outreach we did with this was around the time that we launched it last summer. We partnered with those 3 local banking institutions. It's Middlefield Banking Company up here in the northern tier of Portage County, Portage Community Bank, which is based in Ravenna, and Hometown Bank, which is based in Kent. We put it out to everybody, all of the banks in the county that do business here, and those were the folks that responded to us. So it just so happened that the local banks were the ones that wanted to participate, which I think worked out beautifully for us. They were advertising for a period of time in their branches to let people know as they came in to do banking that this was an option for them. We also did kind of a number of press releases at the launch, and then large color ads for a little while at the beginning of the program. We've since backed that down to a little, 1x2 square ad in the Record Courier that does run occasionally in the Advocate, in the Gateway News, a couple of other places. So that's our current level of advertising. It's kind of tapered down a little bit. Having said that, I do expect that my office will be approaching the banks soon about a renewed push for the spring. Part of our thought process and not spending too much effort and time on that now is that it's not building season, and so we don't want people to, we don't want to be advertising projects when projects aren't really on people's minds. So probably about March, April, we'll look at that again, and then we'll be reassessing the program for its efficacy in May, June. With the commissioners and kind of going over, okay, so what worked with this, what didn't? Should we put more money in the program? Should we reduce what we've committed to the banks? Should we leave it where it is? So those conversations are going to be coming up. But that was the initial approach, and we're taking another swing at it. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Vaca?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Combs, this is not the same as the CHIPS program, am I correct?
No. This is a separate link deposit program that we're running through our county. The state of Ohio does a number of similar things also, like EcoLink, which is specifically for environmental projects. We're trying to keep this as broad as possible because it's the first time we've done it in Portage County. So any permanent home improvement qualifies up to, I think, $40,000 is the upper limit for the loan itself. And then because It was a negotiated program. We went with the median home value for the United States as our upper limit for what you can, how much your home can be worth as an appraised matter. So 175,000 is the ceiling for access.
Is
But-
there a income-based criteria on this?
No. So very specifically had the conversation about income. And my position throughout the process has been that this is meant to be a property improvement program. The thought was we don't want landlords in Kent buying up all of the oxygen basically and using it for all of their rental properties. So we did limit it to one property per person for the initial round. But no, we didn't put an income requirement on it, just the property value itself.
Okay, well, the CHIP program has a ceiling of income.
Mm-hmm.
Also, after 7, 8 years or 9 years, the loan goes away. This one here, you have to pay it off completely. After 3 years, it goes to the market value of whatever the interest rate is.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that correct?
5. Yeah, but so that was something that we, again, modeled off of Medina County's program. So the borrower negotiates all the terms with the bank, and then whatever it is that you qualify for it's basically a home equity loan. And whatever you qualify for on your own at the home equity rate, we then reduce by 3% for 5 years. I've had a number of people who tell me they've looked at that, and it's something approaching 0 for a lot of folks. Obviously, if your credit's not quite as good, it's not going to be that attractive, but it does give people a kind of a window to do some things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. And you're right, after that period, it goes back up. So if you're on the upper end of that borrowing threshold, if you're closer to the 40 than the 1,500, then that's something you have to consider also.
Okay, well, we've had a very good response to the CHIP program. This is something new. I'll try to promote it in the ward I represent. But right now, the CHIP program is picked up pretty good in Ward 1. I'm not sure about the rest of the city, but the good thing about that is it goes away after 7 or 8 years.
Right. And I think that one income tested though also,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
that's the difference.
You have
Ours
to-
is
well,
not.
Yeah, the people that
Yeah.
qualify are the ones that are really thrilled about it. Okay,
Right.
thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Mr. Hatridge?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cromas, this is nice.
Thank you.
This is really nice. I don't know how many treasurers actually do something like this, but I appreciate your enthusiasm and your energy. And mainly, I appreciate the fact I have a chance to see who I'm writing these checks to every 6 months. So, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, and I appreciate that you write them. That makes my life a lot easier.
Mr. Kovach?
Mr. Chairman, what's the response been from after a year with this program?
Yeah, well, we're not quite at a year yet. So like I said, we launched in July. So we're getting to that place. I will tell you that it was not what I would have hoped for initially. That is not all that uncommon with the experience in Summit County where they had a program like this for a period of time. Our uptake, we've used about $250,000 that are available at this point. I think part of that is a product of the fact that we got our ducks in a row a little bit behind the curve. I think a lot of people who are doing an improvement kind of think about it in the spring, and that's when a lot of those projects get started. So the fact that we were in mid to late summer kind of, I think, hurt the cause a little bit. But that's all going to be part of the evaluation process this summer. We're going to have to sit down and say, okay, so after this next push that we're going to make, how much of this did we effectively utilize? If it remains at a low level, I imagine if we were to say double that just for the sake of having a conversation, we'd probably have to have a conversation about backing some of our CD commitment down, potentially with the banks. But that's a conversation that we'll have to entertain at that point. The goal at this point is to try to get as many homes in this program as we can.
Are these banks really active in participation?
Yeah, they've been really good partners, and I think for them, there are some regulatory aspects of this that are attractive. This is basically a community service for them, and so under some of the newer banking regulations, that's an attractive element for them. So they've been great to work with so far. Obviously, it's a different conversation to sort of say where are we with that allocation, but I think they also recognize that we're an important partner to have at the county level also. So we'll do that at that point. And again, my main goal is to utilize as much as we possibly can by that point, so we don't have to have an unpleasant conversation.
Well, I would think this would help Portage County get some of the areas developed better than what they are.
Yeah, this is kind of, I guess, so if you want to look at it as a carrot and stick approach, you know, the land bank, which was recently inaugurated, kind of exists to get rid of blighted homes by demolition. This is, you know, hopefully catching people before they get to the place where they're blighted, and we can do some improvements to keep them, you know, kind of on par or improve values eventually, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Cromus, is there an electronic version of this that the city could get a hold of in the event that we so chose to put it up?
Yeah, I sent one to the clerk, so she's got a copy of that electronically.
Okay. Does the administration have it if they want to put it up? Okay, okay. So
But any
if-
assistance you want to give in advertising, I will gladly welcome, because getting the word out on that's very important to us, obviously, so.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Okay,
Have a
thank
good
you.
day. All right, we'll go on to our next guest, Ms. Charlene Westfall. Mayor, this is yours.
Good evening, Council, Mr. President. We are honoring tonight Charlene Westfall, who was recently crowned Miss Ohio Collegiate 2016. And apparently she also has a string of pageant titles. But to give you a little information on Ms. Westfall, she's a high honors student and singer at Aurora High School, and she's an Irish dancer, plus a member of the National Honor Society, and is involved in a number of sort of extracurricular endeavors, including being a volunteer at Independence Village and Freedom Greyhound Rescue. And she also focuses on autism awareness in support of her brother Brian. Now, the interesting thing about this really is a very significant pageant, and it exists to provide personal and professional opportunities for girls in a pageant system that has the highest moral values. So in honor of this great recognition that has come upon one of our residents, Charlene, I'd like to present you with a proclamation. And in addition, we wish you much luck and hope you win at the next level. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Ms. Westfall, any comments?
Thank you all very much for inviting me to attend the meeting today. And yes, I hope to bring home the title for Ohio at the National Miss America Collegiate Pageant in July in San Antonio, Texas. So thank you, everyone.
Best of luck. All right, Mayor, rest of your report.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of council. The State of the City luncheon will be held this Thursday, February 11th at 11:30 at the Bertram. It's presented by the Aurora Chamber of Commerce, and I hope you are all able to attend. Aurora's .9 mil road and bridge levy renewal will be on the March 15th ballot. This is not a tax increase because the levy is a renewal, not a replacement. A renewal generates about the same money each year for the life of the levy. This levy generates about $500,000 per year, which is critical to our road program. A homeowner with an assessed home value of $100,000 will pay about $90 per year. I had some people ask me, well, do we really spend that $500,000 on our roads? And yes, indeed, we do. We spend more than $500,000. We spent more than $800,000 in 2015 on paving, and as part of that, we did the $250,000 East Mennonite project with only about $41,000 of Aurora's money and the rest from the state. This year, we'll spend about $1.3 million on roads, which you all authorized in the recently passed budget. That will include a $1.7 million repaving project on routes 43 and 82, for which we will contribute $352,000 and ODOT will contribute the rest. We're also paying $300,000 and perhaps even less for a $1.2 million project on California Street, for which Reminderville and Ohio Public Works Grant will pay the balance. The levy funds give us the ability to better compete for grants to leverage Aurora's tax dollars. Since our last meeting, I met with a longtime resident of Aurora and a group from the Oaks of Aurora Homeowners Association. We're working on some stormwater and related issues that they have there. I also attended a Mayor's Association of Portage Summit and Stark meeting in Akron, and the Three-Chamber Women's Expo at the Hilton Garden Inn in Twinsburg. And today was really the highlight of all those events. I spoke with Layton third graders about city government, and they had great questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the mayor? Mr. Vaca?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Mayor, this road and bridge levy, I support it, always have. I think what we need to do, though, especially for the residents in Ward 2, they don't understand why the bridge on Crackle Road is deplorable. We need to get with the two county officials and get that bridge fixed. If they're gonna pass this road and bridge levy, they're probably not aware of the fact that the county owns the bridge. But still, you're asking for a road and bridge levy, which is kind of like you're asking for something but not getting anything fixed. So you need to get together with Portage County and Geauga County and have them do something with that bridge. We just did the road. It's a gorgeous road, but when you hit the bridge, you're looking for the gnome underneath it. So we really need to get that fixed. Thank you.
All right, no other questions. Seeing none, Law Director's report. Mr. DePiero?
Mr. President, members of council, I have two items that I want to highlight in my report. The ABR Management Administrative Appeal that was filed against the city. We are filing the record with the Portage County Common Pleas Court, and thereafter a briefing schedule will be scheduled by the court, so that'll happen this week. In addition, I am a member of the Northeast Ohio Law Directors Association, and from time to time, we meet monthly and talk about a lot of municipal issues. From time to time, we're asked to sign on to a friend of the court brief, and there's a few cases that are winding through the court that deal with governmental immunity and the defense of the governmental immunity concept, which is important to all cities. And us and Aurora and 30 other communities are signing on to a friend of the court brief in defense of this very important local concept. So I wanted to let you know that as well.
Thank you. Any questions for the Law Director? All right, seeing none, you have a copy of my report in front of you. Council has asked that please support a motion to add the following ordinances to the agenda. 2016-11, which is employees generally. 16-12, which is the repeal resolution of 166. 13, the agreement with Stantec. 14, the lease agreement for a copier. 15, the Ford Explorer. And 16, the council rules amendment. The proposed legislation was discussed earlier tonight's meeting at the committee of the whole meeting. So if there is a motion to add those to the agenda.
Second.
We have a move and second to add those to the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience would like to comment on anything on tonight's agenda, please step forward. Ma'am?
Good evening, members of council. My name is Deb Conti, 234 South Chillicothe Road. Not sure which of the amendments is in, if it's in 156 or 157, but again, the remodeling rates, the increases, I understand the other ones with new in that, but many people in town really have been lifetime residents and everything else, and being on fixed incomes and retirement incomes, anytime there's a raise, and I'm not saying that the city is not entitled, but I'd really like to see the remodeling cost, that one, just that specific part, not be in such a high percentage. I realize it hasn't gone up, but any dollar that is spent, and especially on keeping our homes, which are very precious to us, in good order, it does add up, and it adds up quickly. The other thing is 2016-016. It's wonderful when any government recognizes individuals' ability to speak. I did read the amendment, and it says that it's, if I understand it correctly, that it would be up to the person in charge of COW if you could speak. So I hope that you will pursue that. I think that when people do come, also because you have a wealth of information that these citizens in town, because you have so many that have been here, can bring on these issues, it's nice to have that doorway open. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mazzaro?
Mr. Horvath, members of the council, my name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. Again, on 155, 56, 57, and 58. You know, I read the memo dated February 8, 2016, which clearly shows we don't know what's really going on as far as what we're charging people for what. You know, it's a shame that we have to gouge the citizens of our community and the contractors that work for them rather than turn around and, you know, and we already pay taxes to keep the operation going. So why do we have to pay all this additional dollars to do what you want to get done? I don't understand it, but you're going to pass it anyway. I know that. I mean, there's not going to be any questions or anything like that. But that scares me. A lot of money is going to transpire here, and who cares? On 2016-007, in reading the ordinance, it shows December 31, 2000 end, period. Then it shows December 31, 2001 end, period, for whoever's assigned to that position. So I don't understand your ordinances, why you're ending back then and you're putting them in now. It doesn't make sense. Now, someone told me today this is supposed to be for the archives, so they can see this goes back to 2000, okay? And it troubles me that you're passing legislation like this and calling archives. It troubles me. In 2016-015, Chief, thanks a lot. I think, you know, you're finding out the state bid is not always the lowest bid, and you save several $1,000s by doing what you're doing. But state bid is not always the lowest bid. You got to remember that on many of your transactions. And last but not least, on 2016-016, believe it or not, there is less citizen input available than there was 20 years ago at council meetings or council committee meetings. You've done away with all the committee meetings where people used to be able to come in and complain about certain things within that. The question is, who's monitoring what's going on out there? It sure is not council because they no longer have the committee. And then we had one council member make a reference to the fact is, well, I didn't belong to that committee. I don't know what happened in that committee. Well, the fact, does anybody know what goes on in the recreation committee? Has it ever been brought to council what's happening and the decision-making and millions of dollars they spend? You know, common reasoning tells me we need to have more attention to what goes on in our community, but you're not doing it very well at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Januska, any other comments on 155, 56, and 57?
Mr. Council President, when we looked at this, the average increase is 15%, which has been over 20 years. We have also added a section into the code that if there is a low income, they are eligible for a 50% reduction in those fees, in those building department fees. The majority of all this is affecting commercial and industrial development and not the residents. We're just trying to keep up with the standards of what all the other cities are around us and where we feel Aurora needs to be.
Thank you. Mr. DePiero, any comments on 07?
Mr. President, with regard to the reference to the dates that are in the ordinance, I reviewed this with my staff today, and it is a historical perspective that the first members were appointed on the dates of 2000, December 31st, 2000, and December 31st, 2001, and that those there are staggered terms. So in order to clarify and have the historical perspective, we felt it was best to keep those dates in the ordinance because it goes 2 years and 2 years and 2 years. So that's why the dates remain in the ordinance for historical reference.
Thank you. All right, anything from council on tonight's agenda? Ms. Barner?
Thank you, President. And regarding anything on the agenda, I'm sorry, or just in this particular?
No,
anything?
tonight's agenda.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, just a little confused, I apologize. Yes, I just wanted to comment also on 155, 156, 157, 158. You know, again, I realize we have to have a protocol here, but I do think regarding a resident, not necessarily with making improvements to their home, if it's gonna help our city aesthetically, again, maybe that's something that we could look at revising. Obviously industrial or commercial, to have the fee, so I don't know if there's anything that we could revise in regarding those ones. I did want to make a comment in regards to ordinance, I think it is, I'm sorry, on Stantec, 0113. Again, thank you very much for continuing our efforts there over in the Sherwood and Robin Hood area. I know the residents will greatly appreciate this, and hopefully we will come up with a solution to the ongoing problems that they've had, not just in July, but for several years in a row of continuous problems there. And just ironically, a note on 015, going backwards here, it seems like notoriously Solon has come up with the lowest bid for a lot of our vehicles. Just looking at previous quotes that we've gotten for whether it was for Chief Byard or with Chief Barnes. I'm glad that you are obviously looking at state and getting 3 quotes, but for whatever reason, it just seems like Solon, and correct me if I'm wrong, has come up with the lowest bid in the past. So again, thank you for doing that and saving our city some money. Other than that, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Vaca?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In reference to those 3, 5, 5, 6, and 7, 8, I'm hoping that when we pass this, that next year we just continually add on the cost of living to it, and then we don't have to go through this every 10 years, 15 years, or whatever it is. It should be automatically, or through council's approval, a raise to the cost of living. Landlords do it, sometimes you do it twice a year, and other manufacturers do the same thing. So, and then this will eliminate this 15% increase over the last 10 or 15 years. Thank you.
Ms. Grandillo?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to speak to 155, 156, 157, 158. These did come from planning. Planning members did study these. It was unanimous that this is way overdue. We applauded the building department for finally getting around to looking at this, since we're the lowest in the neighborhood. If you look around the other cities, we're way behind everybody. It's been almost 20 years since these fees have been changed. As Mr. Vaca said, unfortunately, it's 15% now, but keeping up with the other cities, keeping up with, your bank rates have gone up tremendously, probably over the past 2 years. So we're way overdue on this. Aurora is one of the lowest real estate tax bills in the area again. So the more we can create income from these types of fees, we can keep everyone's taxes lower. So again, reiterating the Planning Commission's comments, I want to thank the Building Department for looking into this. It was way overdue, and hopefully we can stay on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. President. Also on 155, 156, 157, and 158, I know that I'd spoken with Ms. Januska, and she had mentioned that the administration was going to be looking at putting a means test amendment in there. So I want to thank you and the administration for doing that. I think that covers our residents, especially those that we've had some speakers talk about that might be at risk and have concerns about fixed income. So thank you for putting that in place, and I think that means test should solve any of the concerns that folks have with respect to being in a situation of a fixed income and being able to afford to do these. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kovac?
Mr. Chairman and Ms. Januska, how are you going to do this with the thing you mentioned, if they're on a fixed income? How are you going to, first of all, a person that's on a fixed income is not going to be able to do too much improvement. How are you going to look at these applications to see how you differentiate?
Mr. President, to the councilman, what we did is we looked at the HEPA rules, which is low-income families can apply for utility assistance. So they can bring in their utility bills, and if they show us that they're in that program, then they are eligible. We didn't want to really ask for financial information, so we thought that was the best way.
Okay. Well, perhaps they might be able to figure out with this program here too, that
Yes.
they'd be able to fix. Okay, thank you.
You. Mr. Hatridge?
Thank you, Mr. President. No one likes to pay fees for permits. That's the truth. I think one thing that we, in reference to 155, 156, 157, 158. But when you pay that fee for that permit, understand what you're getting for that. You're getting an inspector, and when that job is done or when it's in the process, we have an inspector come out and check out the work. Electrical, plumbing, construction, what have you. That is worth a lot, let me tell you. I've had work done in my home, I've always pulled a permit, and thank God Lionel Finch saw a few things that really prevented me having problems down the pike. So I think we have to keep in mind what is involved in just paying a permit. I know that the prices can be whatever they are, but it can help you as far as fire prevention goes and shoddy work from contractors. So I just want to add that part of it in. Thank you.
Okay. All right, seeing none, we'll go on to tonight's agenda. Ordinance 2015-155 is from planning, and it has been postponed. It's on third reading. It's an ordinance amending section 157.05, application fee of Aurora's codified ordinances. It's on third reading.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Baca?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Hatridge?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-155 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-156 is from Planning Commission. It's an ordinance amending section 1101.09, fees, deposits, guarantees of Aurora's codified ordinances, and this is on third reading.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Baca?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Hatridge?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-156 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-157 is from Planning and is on third reading. It's an ordinance amending section 1135.04, zoning fees of Aurora's codified ordinances, and this is on third reading.
So moved to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Vaca? Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2015-157 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-158 is from Planning Commissions on third reading. It's an ordinance repealing the current section 1329.01 fee schedule and enacting a new schedule, new section 1329.01 fee schedule, substantially in the form attached here too of Aurora's codified ordinances, and this is on third reading.
So moved to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Is there an amendment?
There was an attachment, a revised attachment.
Very good. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2015-158 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-003 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on second reading. It's an ordinance approving an amendment to the contract for the provision of legal services to reflect a 2.5% increase to the base salary of the law director, consistent with other non-union employees for 2016, and declaring an emergency to ensure the continuity of the law department pursuant to Article 7 of the city charter, and the mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
Move to adopt. Second.
A move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
And Mr. Horvath?
Yes. Ordinance 2016-003 is adopted. Congratulations. Ordinance 2016-005 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance accepting the proposal of and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Insight Advisory Group LLC, substantially in the form attached hereto, in an amount not to exceed $15,000 for consulting services in the connection with the mixed-use development district, taking the necessary funds from the general fund number 1 and declaring an emergency in order to ensure continued assistance with the mixed-use development district, and this will go on to second reading. Ordinance 2016-006 is from the Committee of the Whole, as on first reading. It's an ordinance amending Ordinance 2013-52 which approved final site plan for the Villas of Bertram Phase 1 by correcting the spelling of Hillary Lane to Hillary Lane. The mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comment from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2016
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, I'm here.
006 is adopted. You gotta chime in.
I did.
It's a quick meeting. Ordinance 2016-007 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance amending Section 125.01, Audit Committee Composition, Term Vacancy of the Aurora's codified ordinances, and the mayor's asked for suspension.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Here we go.
Ordinance 2016-007 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-008 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance amending Section 177.01, Treasury Investment board establishment membership duties of Aurora's codified ordinances. The mayor has asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
Move to adopt.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
And Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-008 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-009 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2016 Ford Explorer from Liberty Ford for the use by the fire department at a cost of $27,963.68, less the trade-in allowance of $1,650 for a 2000 Ford or 2000 Chevy Impala currently owned by the city for a net cost of $26,313.68, which is less than the state bid list, taking the necessary funds from the fire paramedic levy number 39 and declare an emergency to expedite the purchase of this emergency vehicle. Mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
No, I'm sorry,
Yep.
Second.
we have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carried.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Vaca? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
And Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-009. Mayor, that was my mistake. Oh, no, we're good. Thank you. Ordinance 2016-010 is from the Committee of the Whole and it is on first reading. It's an ordinance accepting the proposal of and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Hayduck and Cox and Associates Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $27,431 to provide engineering and surveying services for the Phase 3 of the connectivity project, taking necessary funds from the General Fund Number 1 and declaring an emergency in order to begin Phase 3 of the connectivity project when weather permits, and this will go on the second reading. Ordinance 2016-011 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance amending Exhibit A to Aurora Code of Ordinances, Chapter 161, Employees Generally, to reflect changes in compensation for the individuals listed on the attached schedule and/or to place those newly hired individuals listed on the attached schedule on Exhibit A at the compensation specified for them, approving such compensation and declaring an emergency. The mayor has asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. Oh, ma'am?
Is it possible to get copies of these since you just made that? Are they here on the side? Did I miss those? Or since
I'm
they
not
were
sure if
done,
those are there.
added to the agenda? Is there a little blurb like on the other one?
Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come to the microphone.
I just wondered if there's a little blurb like on the agenda since these were added. Is there a little summary of each of those?
There isn't,
It's in the mayor's.
council has a packet, but that's
Okay.
it.
All right. They'll be on
Okay.
the next reading then. I'll look for them next time.
No, ma'am,
It's in the
ma'am, ma'am,
president's report.
it'll be approved tonight. I mean, if you want them, we can make sure you have them
No,
before
but I
you.
just wondered since it was interesting reading. Thank you.
Okay.
You can have mine.
I was gonna say, she can have
Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Kovak? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Ordinance 2016-011 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-012 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance repealing Resolution 2015-166 and authorizing the mayor to enter into a revised housing revolving loan fund administration agreement substantially in the form attached hereto with the State of Ohio Department of Development as required by the State of Ohio and declare an emergency in order to continue receiving state funding for the city's CHIP program. And the mayor's asked for suspension.
Second.
Mayor, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Ms. Gardillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
And Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-012 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-013 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance accepting the proposal of Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $16,400 to prepare the construction drawings, monitor the bid process, and provide construction observation services for the Sherwood Drive Storm Sewer Improvement Project, taking the necessary funds from the Stormwater Capital Fund number 79 and declare an emergency in order to commence work before the spring season. The mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
I have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Gardillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-013 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-014 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a 60-month lease agreement with Mirafex Ace Business Solutions in the amount of $179.07 per month for a RICO MPC 4503 SP copier for the Division of Parks and Recreation, taking necessary funds from the Park and Recreation Fund number 78 and declare an emergency to ensure the copier will be installed before the current copier lease expires on March 14, 2016. The mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second?
Motion for
No,
sure.
Okay. All right.
I take it back.
We still would, well,
Still have a motion.
we have a motion to suspend. The mayor has not asked for it, though.
And who said?
You wanna go through
I
it?
did, that's right.
Well, we still need to approve it. We still need to approve it.
You wanna just say no to it and be done with it?
No, because it's, because it,
I changed my.
all right, but we still have the idea where by March 14th, the new one comes out.
So you want, let's just get rid of it. I make a motion to suspend.
It's already
I
done.
second.
Let's get it out of
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
there. Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Ms. Gardillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-014 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-015 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 3 2016 Ford Explorer Interceptors from Liberty Ford for use by the Police Department at a cost of $82,895.04, less the trade-in allowance of $24,500 for 2 four-door sedan Interceptors and 1 Ford Expedition currently owned by the city for a net cost of $58,395.04, which is less than the amount of the state bid list, taking the necessary funds from the Capital Improvement Fund number 60 and declaring emergency to expedite the purchase of emergency vehicles. And the mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Gardillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-015 is adopted. Ordinance 2016-016 is from the Committee of the Whole. It's an ordinance amending Section 121.06C, Council Rules, Rules of Conduct, Citizens' Participation of Aurora's codified ordinances to permit citizens' comments subject to the discretion of the chair at the Committee of the Whole meeting and declaring an emergency.
Move for suspension.
Second?
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hedges?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca? Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
No.
Okay, the rules are suspended.
Move for adoption.
Second?
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Ma'am?
Deb Conti, 234 South Chillicothe Road. I was just wondering why this was not going to go through 3 readings and why we suspended tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cudley, I'll let you answer that one also. I mean, I can,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
No,
wanna-
that's
your
okay.
Button's pushed.
We have debated this at our last committee of the whole meeting, and we want to, by March 1st, our rules are supposed to be in force. So we just felt that this was a good time to be able to forward this to council for action. At our last meeting, committee of the whole meeting, it was proposed by Ms. McDougall that we allow on our agenda comments like we do on the city council meeting. And she gave some information which I believe not to be totally accurate, so I asked Ms. Martin from the clerk's office to do some research, and that research indicated that those committees of the wholes that allow citizens' participation in other cities meet on a separate night from our council meeting. They do not meet on the same night. Therefore, their agendas are set that there is no time limit, and obviously they can allow for citizens' comments. Our committee of the whole meets prior to the city council meeting, and the agendas for our committee are determined on a Thursday. We sit down and take a look at that, the clerks and myself, and we take a look at that, trying to determine when is the best time to start our committee of the whole meeting. And we've started anywhere from 5:30 to 6, 6:15, 6:30, even 6:45 if we don't have a large agenda. And that, obviously gives time for those who have full-time jobs to be able to get here at the scheduled time and be able to start our council meetings at 7. And personally, I believe that the committee of the whole is a work session, and we have not allowed necessarily comments at a work session before. However, there was a concern by Ms. McDougall and some other council people as far as allowing this. So I felt, even though I'm personally opposed to the idea of having it per se set on our agenda, leaving it to the discretion of the chair, I thought was a good compromise. And therefore, that's why I brought that amendment forward.
Okay.
Mr. Horvath.
Mr. Vaca.
Go back to the citizens first and then the council. Mr. Mazzaro has something to say.
Mr. Mazzaro. You passed it, but go ahead. I did ask.
All right, members of the council, my name is Jordan Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. You know, a lot of discussion going on. For every city that you find that says, no, we don't let citizens, I'll find you 2 who allow you to speak. Now, you can tell me anything you want, Mr. Cudley, but again, if you go back 20 years ago, the citizens have less time today than they did then. Now, when at the end of the meeting, you give us 2 minutes. 20 years ago, you used to have 5 minutes. But these are the things that just trouble me. Were you able to talk about these things, yet you don't listen to the citizens when they turn around and say, have the privilege available to the citizens. That's why you're here. That's why there's a council. That's why there's the mayor. You're supposed to let the citizen participate any way you possibly can, and that's why you used to have committees. Then it took too much of your time, we don't have committees. We used to have a lot of things going on in these committees. But today, who cares? Just go ahead and say yes, 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 and then boom, let it go. Who cares? You know, it's just like Mr. Hatch's made a comment that on the getting, for the money you're paying for the permit, you get so-and-so. You're already paying taxes for that. You don't need to pay additional money for that. But anytime you have one that says no, I'll find you two that says yes. And the fact is, it doesn't take too much to say, here's 2 minutes, citizen, or 3 minutes, citizen. In fact, you don't really need a cow meeting. You can put anything you got on the cow meeting, you can put exactly on the regular agenda. And that way we'll know where it really came from, besides the cow.
Thank you. Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why I'm voting no is because of the fact that the legislation that's in front of us is new. It's brand new. We don't know what it's about. And we're going to have citizens ask us something that we're not even sure of. It's a work session, like Mr. Cudley says. It's something we hash out. If there's anything that we can't hash out, we'll send it out to an ad hoc committee or whatever. But we don't need to belabor the issues because we don't even know ourselves. We just went through that earlier at the COW meeting. Mr. Cudley even proved it because of the fact we're not sure what's going on. So how is a citizen supposed to know if we don't know? So therefore, I'm still saying we should say no to this. This little number 8 add-on, I'm glad I'm not the chairman because I would have to make that discretion. And if you do it once, you might have to do it to everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to clarify for folks that don't have this, the comparison to cities, this is cities around us that have committees as a whole. There are 4 cities that allow it at the discretion of the chair. There are 5 cities that do not allow it at all, and there are 4 cities that allow it, with some having time limits and some not. For my part, we've reached a compromise. I think it's a fair compromise. And if it's important enough that people want to talk and that we're going to change our rules, then it's important enough to put it in place now so that the discretion starts at the next meeting. If it's not important, then we don't need to pass this compromise at all, and we can just continue to function as we have been without citizen comments. So either it's important and we're going to put it at the discretion of the chair so it can happen, or it's not and we're not going to do it at all. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Cudley.
Thank you, Mr. Horvat. I've already spoken to this, but Mr. Marzaro brings up the opportunity that we don't have a lot of opportunities for citizens to have input during a meeting. Right now, during this council meeting, Mr. Marzaro and other citizens had 5 minutes to talk about legislation at the beginning. They have 2 minutes at the end. We have suspended 11 pieces of ordinances, at which time Mr. Marzaro or any other citizen would have had an opportunity. So if I add that up, that's like 13 different opportunities. A citizen would have had an opportunity to speak during this meeting. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Ms. Grandello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had missed the last meeting. I had talked to Ms. McDougall about this and told her that I did not have a problem with people speaking in talking to other council people before even the last meeting. I understand the time constraints. I'm one of those people who has a job. So if we have to start cow at 4 o'clock to get everything done, I will be missing a whole lot of information. So I think this is a very good compromise. There will be an opportunity for people to speak, I would think, at most cow meetings, but it does allow us the flexibility if we are jammed to 2 minutes to 7 when our council meeting has to start, that, you know, it's flexible. So, and I did speak to Ms. McDougall again, and she had indicated she wouldn't be here tonight, and I told her we were going to try to get this passed tonight, but that it would be a compromise, and she seemed pleased with that. So that's why I'm voting yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Fox, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. Grandello?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
No.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
And Ms. Bonner?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2016-016 is adopted. Citizens' comments, anyone in this public who would like to comment on anything, please step forward. Mr. Mazzaro.
Mr. Horvath, members of the council, my name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. One of the problems I'm running into is that I know the mayor has inside the appropriation putting these soccer fields in on the farmlands. And, you know, if I would do that on my personal property, city would council zoning would be all over me, say, you can't do that. You need to zone and rezone 1,000+ acres that we own as a city to public use. You cannot use those properties. Now, if you go ahead and do it without getting a rezone, then I will take you to court. Okay? It's the fact I'm getting sick and tired of it. You tell people can't run chickens in their yard, and then they turn around and they put in soccer fields. You can't do that. We have the recreation department using some of our barns for commercial and enterprise. They're using it as part of their working conditions. And you can't do that. We need to stop it and stop it now. One of the things that came up here a couple elections ago when we passed, the city of Aurora passed the levy for the library. We've seen we're the only community passing it. And maybe it's about time, since we own the building over here, that we turn around and have our own library, our own levy for the library, and open it up like it's supposed to be opened up on a regular basis. The children of our district are getting, you know, bamboozled because they can't get in there when they need to. The citizens in this community can't get in when they need to. They're closing it down because there's no money. We have to look very seriously at that because it has to be a very important part of your community. A library that is accessible to the citizen and mostly the children in this district.
Thank you, Mr. Mazzaro.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Council, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. President. With respect to the project at the Hartman Complex out on Town Line Road, that piece of property is permitted active use via the purchase agreement. I'm sure that the administration, when the time comes, will request a conditional zoning certificate to use that property for active use and have the athletic complex installed. That's all. Thanks.
Mr. Vaca.
You have to have citizen.
Mr. Mazzaro.
Yeah,
Mr. Mazzaro. Mr. Mazzaro, you had your turn.
I know, but
Mr. Mazzaro, you had your turn. Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to the library, it's unfortunate, but the Aurora people more or less support the library when it comes up when they're for the elections. Unfortunately, it's the rest of the county that doesn't. We can't carry the whole county, and that's why we have this issue with the funding for the library being cut. And you can thank our illustrious governor for that too, because he has just about cut everybody back so far that they can't survive. Cleveland, Aurora, but yet his budget is balanced, and we're still struggling. So it sounds a little political, don't it? But at any rate, that's why the library is having problems surviving. Another thing is it's a troll under that bridge on Crackle Road, not a gnome. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Horvat. Regarding the library, my father-in-law who sat here knew all about the library system and how it was set up, but I believe the covenants that control the Portage County District Library makes it impossible for Aurora to quote-unquote secede. Even though there are two independent libraries within Portage County, the way it's set up, it's pretty much technically illegal for us to break away and form our own library system. So it's unfortunate, but that's the case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to reassure council and the public that with respect to Hartman Farm and any other project that the city does, we follow the zoning requirements, the planning commission requirements, and every other requirement we are supposed to follow. That project has not yet been undertaken, although we hope to start some of it this year. That's why some funding was in the budget for that. It is zoned residential. However, we will pursue a conditional zoning certificate for an outdoor athletic facility at such point as we are ready to proceed. And that does not require a vote of the public. Thank you.
Ms. Barnard? Mayor, Mr. Mazzaro?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, President. I was just wondering if we had any news about the 1815 building. If we have a date that we could share with the community, because I know everybody's excited. I also want to say congratulations to Vera with the School of Music. Looks like they're up and running, and it looks outstanding and complete. And lastly, happy Valentine's Day and happy President's Day. Thank you.
Mayor, do you want to talk about a private company?
I'd rather, Mr. President, talk about the city and indicate that folks at the city have truly gone out of their way to assist these private businesses to get done what they needed to get done and get the proper approvals. And both the Aurora School of Music and the 1815 Tavern have their city approvals at this point. I can't tell you, though, when the 1815 Tavern is going to open. But I have to commend city staff because they were in constant touch with me and I with the business owners, and we really tried to facilitate their undertakings as much as we appropriately could. And I think they will be very successful. Thank you.
All right, anything else? Seeing none? So moved for you.
Second.
Elton moving second to adjourn. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Papa? Yes. Mr. Hatch?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovach?
Yes.
Mr. Fenwick?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Brenda?
Yes.